We had a property that actually burned down. And I was thinking to myself, like, when this was happening, this was our fourth deal. So I'm like, wow, I made the biggest mistake that I could have made. I can't believe I did this. Why are we playing in this field? And then it turns out you talk to other people that have had the same problems, and you figure out that that problem's not actually as big as a problem. It's just your biggest problem to date.
Nobody's born incredible. People who do incredible things simply took the right steps. This is our journey. This is the hunt for incredible. Welcome back to another show, another episode of the Hunt for Incredible. On today's episode, we've got my man, Cory Jacobson. So Cory's acquired 80 units with his partner, Ryan, over the last 7 years. They started off with a 3-bedroom house and have scaled it up to 80 units through some creative ways of financing the deal. So I'm super stoked to chat with him about that. They also have a top 1% global podcast called the Wealth Juice Podcast, which I am thankful that I got to be a part of. So we recorded an episode last week, and now I get to record this one here. So we did a little pod swap, which is always fun. They've also built a community to help other people acquire their first deal. It has 50 to 100 members. So we're going to discuss the real estate. We're going to discuss the community, but we're also going to break the fourth wall to understand how Cory thinks about things and how he actually stacked those things up. Like, what comes first? Classic case of the chicken and the egg when you're talking about social media and podcasts and communities and real estate and everything else. So really excited to dive into this episode. Cory, thanks for being on.
Gideon, this is awesome, man. I love doing these podcasts. I'm normally on the other side of the mic. I love sharing our story. I've been trying to get on a little bit of a tour recently, so I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. So right out the gate, let's dive right in. Tell us about one of the more challenging deals that you acquired, and like, how did you structure it to actually dive in?
Okay, so it depends on what level of challenging you want to go here. I think just to give a little background on my story, like, I started investing in real estate in 2018. I literally bought a 3-bed, 2-bath, and I rented out 2 of the bedrooms and lived in one. And I went from paying $1,000 a month in rent to living for free. And I was like, boom, got it. Like, I understand this game now. This makes sense. Was able to save up some cash, went and bought a duplex. I'm in Philadelphia, so I went and bought a duplex in New Jersey, and it cash flowed a couple $100s a month. But what really sparked it for me is when that property appreciated and I sold it for $100,000 profit 3 years later. And I was like, okay. So the cash flow that everyone talks about is amazing, but it was $300 a month for 3 years. That's $70,000. But the $100,000 that I made, I was like, wow, I could take this money, and instead of buying a $125,000 property, I could buy a $500,000 property and benefit on the appreciation on a higher number. Ryan and I joined forces right before COVID. We started our podcast, we started our social media platform and our real estate company together. And we were able to just brute force our way to like 8 units, just literally saving up and deploying and saving up and deploying. So I think in terms of a challenge, one property, I mean, this is like the thing that happens that you're like, oh, this couldn't possibly happen to me. Like, how could the worst possible thing happen when you buy real estate? But we had a property that actually burned down. And, I was thinking to myself, like, when this was happening, this was our fourth deal. So I'm like, wow, I made the biggest mistake that I could have made. Real estate's like, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe we did this. Like, why are we playing in this field? And then it turns out you talk to other people that have had the same problems, and you figure out that you're just not on that wavelength yet. You're not understanding that that problem's not actually as big as a problem. It's just your biggest problem to date. So it ended up actually working out, and we were able to get an insurance payout on the property that was larger than the property was worth. We, of course, have to pay capital gains on it, but I was able to roll that into the next deal. It's just in the moment when you're in the middle of it, you're like, I can't believe, like, how is this actually happening to me? They talk about it like the horror stories. So we've lived through that. So that deal right there was just a $175,000 duplex that we financed through traditional financing, Ryan and I, 50-50, nothing fancy about it. But I wanted to keep that property for a long time, Gideon, because $175,000 and it rented for $3,200, $1,500 aside or $1,600 aside duplex. And I was like, man, this thing's cash flowing great. And then we literally just finished putting the floors in for like $8,000, and the neighbors had space heaters on in their garage. So that's apparently a no-no, and their property caught on fire and ours did. In terms of challenge, that was probably our biggest challenge. And then Ryan and I expanded a little bit and got into more of the bigger deals as we realized, hey, it's not that much different for us to buy an 18 unit or a 10 unit or a 30 or a 43 unit than it was for us to buy a duplex. And that was when it really expanded.
Dude, that might be one of my favorite quotes I've heard in a long time that you just said. Which is,
I don't even know what I said. Tell me what I said.
It's not a big problem. It's just your biggest problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Golly, that's something worth meditating on, because I think about something similar all the time, where it's your success in life and how big you go and what you attain is directly correlated to the size of problems that you're willing to deal with. So dealing with, a property that burned down, there are some people who their level of thinking is, oh, dude, that's the same as like, oh, my car broke down or I got a flat tire on the side of the road. And people might respond and say, oh, well, yeah, that's easy, because if you have a net worth of $500 million and you have all these multifamilies, of course you don't care if a little duplex burns down. But I
Which I
beg to
don't, by
differ.
the way. I don't have that net worth, but yeah,
Not
go
yet.
ahead, continue.
Not yet.
Yeah, not
Not
yet,
yet.
not yet.
But
Exactly.
all that to say, like, I disagree that it's the size of that loss. I think it's your disposition towards loss in general. Like, I believe you become the person that can attain those things. And that version of you that is capable of having $500 million worth of real estate or a $1 billion company, whatever it is, that type of person is who responds to those challenges in those ways. And of course there's higher stakes, right? Like if your full net worth is 100,000, then yeah, you handle problems differently than if your net worth is 100 million. But your disposition towards things and how you respond to things is all relative. It's all perspective. It's not a big problem. It's just my biggest problem. That's so good.
I think I've heard this. I don't know. Joe Rogan probably wasn't the one who said it, but I listened to him like really just to become a better podcaster, honestly, because I love the way that he asks questions. But he said something like the worst thing that happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, right? And it's a very similar thing where it allows you to have some empathy for people, I think, in a way. It's like if someone's having a really bad day or they're reacting like in a way to a problem that you wouldn't, I think thinking about it like maybe this is one of the worst things that's happened to them. And they just don't know. They don't know the game. They don't know what real big, larger problems are. And I remember getting in my second property, it was raining inside my house on day one. Like, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I didn't know I had to replace the windows. They were super old. I had no clue. Flooding my whole house. And I thought, man, this game is just different than I thought it would be. I thought I was just going to collect a check. And what I realized is that a call to a few people and $1,500 later, and that problem was fixed. And in the moment, I'm telling you, I was freaking out. I had no clue what to do. I called like my random lawyer who like helped me like years ago. He's like, why are you calling me? And I think that's the purpose of like starting a coaching community and starting a mentorship program, because I want to be the light of somebody that I didn't have when I first started, for someone to look over my shoulder and say, yeah, Cory, this is a good deal. This is what you should do in this scenario. And the only way to do that is to get in rooms with people who are a few steps ahead of you, not 1,000, but a few. And that is why building the content, starting the podcast, and doing all that allows you to get in rooms with people like yourself and network and create relationships so that you can handle those problems and they become smaller and smaller because you're around other people who are doing the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. And also responding exclusively to what's in front of you rather than stressing out over the 10 steps ahead, because the 10th step ahead likely won't even look like that. Like
Yep.
the only reason you plan 10 steps ahead is to get an idea of the direction that you're going. In terms of actual execution, it's going to evolve over time. So focusing immediately on like, how do I respond to this situation and being present in the moment, that's something I've been meditating on a lot lately, is being present in the existing moment and not worrying about the ramifications of something in a negative way, to say, okay, this thing didn't happen, therefore ripple effect down the road, I'm not going to get the thing that I wanted. And like, it's good to plan ahead again, but to not let that affect you emotionally, but to like respond to it accordingly and to tackle it accordingly. And that again, yeah, is the value of those communities, because you're with people who are 10 steps ahead and can look at you and say, no, 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 don't worry about it. Like that 10th step ahead, since you lack the experience, you're not accurately projecting how this plays out. What you should be focusing on is this other thing. And when I joined the community, so I joined a community of people who had purchased hotels because I wanted to get in rooms where my dreams were their realities. And the reason I was able to rip so quickly was because I had people who were saying, yeah, this is the right direction to go. So I wasn't pausing to second guess myself or to verify the direction. I was just set on a direction and absolutely ripping.
Yep. Without a doubt, man. I mean, that to me is the game changer of putting yourself, like you said, in rooms with people whose, your dreams are their everyday reality. And I think people just need the expansion of the mind to realize that stuff's out there. And you have to be willing to play ball a little bit and be willing to say, yeah, I'm going to invest in myself. And that's like the most important investment that you can make. I think I had a hard time figuring that out too. I'm like, am I going to pay people to teach me something when I could go learn it on my own? You had a lone wolf mentality. And what you realize with that is that you lack, like I already said, you lack the expansion of your mind, and you don't learn. You learn by doing a couple things. You learn by doing, but then you learn also by, why not learn through other people? And I think that to me changed the game. And Ryan and I have spent 6 figures on coaching in 2024. And I never thought I would even come close to that. I'm not suggesting that every single thing you get into is going to work out. We spent money on coaching that we didn't even use, or we figured out that wasn't for us. But you have to be willing to put yourself out there and invest and try things to learn what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, not only that, but if you think about the compounding returns, that's how I justified the community that I joined. It was fairly pricey. And I thought about it and said, if I buy a hotel even 6 months earlier, then 10 years down the road, if I buy it six months earlier plus that increased velocity, then that's a difference of millions of dollars 10 years down the road that I've gained. So if I'm just paying 25 grand to get into these rooms right now in exchange for $10 million in 10 years, $5 to $10 million, those are massive returns. Like that's the best. Like there's no investment that can actually beat that. The investment of increased velocity and starting earlier so that the compounding returns start earlier and they're greater. It's a no-brainer. So with all that said, you've been coaching a lot of people. What would you say is the biggest hang up in terms of people actually getting their first deal?
I would say that it starts with in between the ears, and it's analysis paralysis. And I've talked to extremely smart people that are significantly smarter than me. I was a pretty below average student, but people that were smarter than me, that their risk tolerance was so, I guess the word would be high, right? Your risk tolerance is low. You are so caught up in the numbers and the what ifs and what goes wrong. And I think we know people out there that make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and have said that they're going to start investing in real estate. And it's been 4 years since they said they were going to do it and they haven't done anything. And it's because of the getting stuck in the cycle of looking at something and saying, is that really going to work? This could potentially go wrong. And I was literally on a call the other night with a student and I said, look, he asked me, of these 8 metrics, can you tell me what I should look for in each of these? And I said, here's what the first thing you need to do is throw out 5 of them and focus on 3. Because if you try to check every box on every deal, you'll never buy real estate. And there is going to be something that's the trade-off, or else BlackRock would have already bought it if they checked every single box. So the trade-off for you is finding my top 3 things. Is it going to cash flow from day one? Is it in a market that's going to have potential to appreciate? Do I have multiple exit strategies? Like even something that simple, like it's all about the way that you frame it. And I think getting stuck in analysis paralysis, like what's the cap rate and, what happens if management doesn't work? Should I hire a property manager? And like running over the deals over and over and over and over again. So much so that it looks like on paper, like eventually it doesn't work. So getting into rooms with people who are a few steps ahead that have said, yeah, this is why you should buy this. Look at our track record. Do this because I've seen it before. It gives people so much more confidence to move right past the analysis paralysis phase, but it takes somebody to push you. And that's why I'm saying it really is in between the ears. I think that's the biggest hang up.
Yeah, I opened up and was doing free coaching calls for a period. And I was expecting going into it, a lot of those free coaching calls to be, how do I structure this deal? How do I pick a good market? I found 9 out of 10 of the coaching calls were literally just self-limiting beliefs, which is crazy if you think about it. Like what's holding you back is you. And the second you realize it's you and you can add structure to the self-limiting belief and ask yourself if there's any reason for it to be there, you realize there's no reason for it to be there at all. Like when I decided to buy a hotel, it didn't even cross my mind that I couldn't buy a hotel. I just went and bought it.
Yep.
That said, there are other self-limiting beliefs that I have that what I do is I'll write them down every day. So I'll write down I am statements, what I'm looking for, and really add structure to reprogram my software, my mind, how I think, and then identify self-limiting beliefs. That's step 1. So I'll write like I can, I'll write in the future as if it's the present. So like presently in 10 years, I will reflect on the last 10 years, which is 10 years in front of me. And I will say like, I've started a community and this is what it does. And then when I realize that there's a self-limiting belief there, I'll list out like, why don't I actually think I can build a scalable community? And I'll list out the reasons and realize that there's actually no substance. So I'll just be vulnerable for a second. So I wrote out, I have a community that's scaled and I have had concrete metrics to it. And then I realized that there was some friction there when I actually wrote that out. And I asked myself, why do I think there would be friction there? I won't be able to do it. And I realized that my self-limiting belief wasn't predicated on anything because my self-limiting belief was I cannot maintain large-scale relationships for a prolonged period of time. And when I asked myself why I don't believe that, I realized there was no substance because I can maintain individual relationships for prolonged periods of time. I have a lot of really great friends that I've had for a really long time. Like I maintain relationships really well. And then I also can have scaled relationships. I love public speaking. I love podcasts. I love posting content. So there's no reason why I wouldn't be able to maintain a scaled relationship for a prolonged period of time. And once I wrote that out and I identified the self-limiting belief, the crazy thing is, anybody who's listening, the second you identify that self-limiting belief, it vanishes. It just poof, it disappears. And then you realize, like, holy shit, I can create a community, and it can scale, and it can be really big and really impactful. And there's something that's been holding me back that's predicated on, who knows, maybe it was a comment somebody made when I was younger that made me think I wouldn't be able to do it, or some life event that I ran into, or a challenge that set me back, whatever it was. Actually identifying it and realizing that it has no substance. It's almost like you have these brick walls in front of you that are holding you back, and then you walk over and you touch the brick wall and it just falls over like a sheet of paper. And you realize it wasn't a brick wall at all. It's just in your mind it was a brick wall, and it's malleable. And it really makes you wonder, what other ceilings have I set for myself that are holding me back? Like, if I want $500 million worth of real estate over the next 10 years, who's to say it can't be $1 billion over the next 10 years? Like, who do I have to talk to? What friends do I have to make? What podcast episodes do I have to record or push out? What piece of content do I have to make? How much capital do I have to raise? If you just restructure your thinking and you really challenge what's holding you back, anybody is capable of so much more than that, so much more than that. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. And Gideon, I think you can only identify with who you have been, not who you're going to become. You can't identify with something that you are not. So naturally, you're kind of protecting yourself in a way. Like, I've been this person, so that's who I identify as. And I think that if you don't change and you're not moving forward, and you're not actually really living, and you're not really progressing. So as long as you can remove that mindset and say, all right, I understand that I can only identify by who I can only identify myself as who I've been, but I can become more. Then you start to identify slowly but surely with a new person or a new version of yourself. And I think it takes having conversations like this and getting in front of people who are thinking bigger in order to allow you to think the same. And that's what I think holds most people back, is they want to go at it alone. They think it's me versus the world. And I think our good friend Rich even said this. I don't know if it was him or he took it from somewhere, but the competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top. So get around people who are at the top. And that stuck with me. It's like, these people are collaborating, and you can look at even the conspiratorial, like, government stuff. Like, they're all doing it all together, right? They're not worried about the plebes. So I think it's like, maybe that isn't exactly where I wanted to take this. But my point is that, like, the collaboration is happening in a level that you aspire to get to. So don't think you're competing with everyone around you. Like, look to join forces.
Hey, quick pause here. If you're enjoying these episodes, it would mean the world to me if you took a second to leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us get more reach and help more people on their journey. Secondly, if you have any feedback for us, or if you want help buying your first hotel, you can send us an email at hello@thehuntforincredible.com. That's hello@thehuntforincredible.com. Back to the show. Yeah, and don't think that you have to compete to get to that level. You can literally just walk into the rooms. You can shoot people like, you can shoot Cory a DM, you can shoot me a DM, and literally just start the conversation. So we bought the hotel last year, and it's a 24-unit boutique hotel in Central California wine country. That deal was just as difficult to acquire and is just as difficult to manage as the fourplex that we bought, which sounds crazy on paper, but it's totally true. And realizing that, because it's through the collaboration that you can tackle those deals, if you look at the effort per door of the 4-unit versus the 24-unit, the effort per door for the hotel was maybe 5 to 10% of what the effort per unit of door was for the quad. And I'm going to make significantly more money on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's all about putting yourself in those rooms with people who have done what you're looking to do. And those people, that's why the investment in yourself to the $25,000 that you spend to get in that. These people have already bought these hotels. They know exactly what to do. So, yeah.
And then also I made far more than that on the acquisition fee. So I made the return on that money very, like, quantifiably very early. So let's segue into the community, because I'm very interested in, like, how you thought about structuring that and building that out. So at what point did you decide, okay, I want to build a community and kick that off?
So we started our podcast 2020. We made a pact. We're going to start our podcast. We're going to start our social media platform early, just before COVID. Actually, it was during COVID. It was April, and I was like, I'm not doing nothing. I'll tell you that. We got to start something. Like, I'm not waiting for the world to happen to me. Let's go make something happen. So we said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do one podcast a week, and we're going to post every single day on social media. And all we want to do is document our journey. I was listening to Bigger Pockets. I love Bigger Pockets. Shout out to them. But I felt like I was looking at people who are too far ahead to relate to. I couldn't fathom buying 250 units from somebody who started in 1998. It just didn't make sense to me. The game is different. So maybe, Gideon, maybe people will resonate with us. Maybe they'll follow along on our story. Maybe they'll latch on. And they did. And they decided if you're going to show up and you're going to be authentic, you're going to talk about your journey. Like, I want to know what you got going on. I want to know about the nitty gritty of like what actually is going through your head when you're trying to go from 1 to 10. So we documented everything. We talked about the properties. We talked about everything, the podcast. Before you know it, people were taking a shot on us and coming on the show. So I say all that to say, 4 years goes by and we did free content for 4 years, just putting it out there, no expectation of anything in return. The amount of messages that we were getting, hey guys, do you have another level to this? Like, can you teach this to other people? It started by us organically networking with people we had on the show. We got to that 8 units, and the thing that got us from 8 to 80 was collaborating with one of our good friends, Sean Winslow. We bought an 18 unit with him. We bought we just closed on a 10 unit with him. A 43 unit project, a 7 unit project, because we were able to use our skills of marketing and investor relations and creation of the relationships, and he was boots on the ground. So anyway, I get to this point where this is mid 2024. I'm getting all these messages like, what, can you help me with this? Can I pick your brain? Right? We talked about this. Can I pick your brain? And I said, you know what? If I had a mentor in the beginning, my 80 units would be 180 units or 580 units. I didn't have that. I'm wondering if Ryan and I can provide value to people that are just trying to get their first few. Because once you build the momentum, the game shifts. And like, it changed everything for me. And now I am, instead of a consumer all the time, I'm an investor. And I think about where those dollars are coming in from how I'm at my job and where I'm putting them. We just said, okay, we're going to start this community. We priced it extremely low. People were flooding in. And then what happened is we just decided to scale it from there. And I realized that people need the mindset. They need the accountability. They need the community. They need to feel like they're around other people who are doing what they're doing. And I decided, Gideon, I could teach you how to buy a 10 unit or a 15 unit, but you can go to somebody else that's better than me. What I can really teach you how to do is get your first or second or your third and help you scale, and then build a system so it's repeatable, because I've done it over and over and over again. And that was where we felt like we fit in the marketplace. And I'm just leading with giving all the value that I can, plugging people into my network, helping them each and every step of the way with this roadmap that we've built out. And so that was really where it started and why we figured like, okay, this is something that I think that can really scale. And also, I love coaching. I love teaching. I love getting on podcasts. I love creating content. I love mentoring. And now it's what I do full time, 6 months after we started. So at that, and the real estate, obviously buying the real estate, but most of my active income is coming from our community. And it's because I'm putting really like my heart and soul into it.
That's awesome. What did that launch look like? Was it emailing out to like an email blast to emails that you had acquired? Was it DMing people? Was it pushing ads? What did that look like?
Oh man. So it's funny. I don't think I've ever shared this on a podcast. When we started our social media platform, I don't think you can do this anymore, but when we started, we're at like 35, 40,000 followers right now, but we literally would go onto other accounts and like all of the posts on other accounts and comment. And I mean, like, we would like 50 to 200 a day, just like them, comment. And that's how we organically grew. And we were getting like flagged by IG for doing this. So we organically grew. Then we started like, all of a sudden we have people that are following us. And then in terms of the program, once we had, 30 to 40,000 followers, I wanted to build a base of virtual resume and a personal brand that people like recognized us and they saw our face out there. Go to this is like our page where you can see everything about us. You can follow us on social. You want the free content, go listen to our podcast, go check out all the content that we post that's actual value and helping. You can just listen to that. You can go to YouTube University and start. But if you want the next layer, that's the coaching community. But you asked a question about how I started. Literally, it was organic stories, organic reels. We were just posting it. Hey, we've been doing this free content for years. If you want to join, like, we had our first 5 people come in organically, and then we shifted to like running ads specifically for the program in August. We did August, September, October, November, December. Our best month was August. And then after that, January, February have been better because we like dialed in like, how to actually market. But really it was just posting and just talking about it, getting on the story. Hey, if you guys want help, if you really want to like scale this thing and you're serious about diving in, like, message us. And then people did. And we had people that came into the program like immediately because they've been listening to our podcast for years. And like, I feel like I know you guys. Like, I know you're real. I know you're authentic. I know you're not like a scam or a fraud because it's hard to identify who is and who isn't. And then those people have been like the best because they come in, they get value, they get their first property instantly, and then they're your biggest fans, and like now they're friends of ours. So that's kind of how we just did it. Like I hate to say it like that, but we just like, all right, like what's the best way to try to get people in here? Let's just do it and ask questions later and then figure out the strategy from there.
Nice. I love that. What do you see as the relationship between organic content and ad content?
God, dude. If I knew what was going on with this Instagram algorithm or TikTok algorithm, I would sleep better at night. I'll tell you that. Okay. So I think that everything has to start with organic. If you're not providing some sort of value or insight or a way for your content to reach the masses, then I wouldn't even think about paid. Like I wouldn't even go there because no one knows who you are. You don't have to have 35, 40,000 followers. I have to have a few thousand or even a few hundred, but just like the creation of who you actually want your brand to be, color scheme, thought process behind how you're edit. Like just, it doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to go nuts and hire like a whole team, but like just think about who do you want to be seen as, and then make sure it's actually you, right? But I think the more organic content that you can post, the more it allows you to weave in the paid stuff. So we have not, if anything, we've doubled down on our organic strategy by going from 1 podcast a week to 2 podcasts a week and 1 post a day to like, we're at like 10 a week. So 1.5 a day, just by getting more of our reach out there. And then the algorithm shifts all the time. I don't know. I can't tell you why some posts go viral. Honestly, if I'm being serious, I can't tell you. I know that obviously you want to post stuff that gets shared, but you really, for us, I keep telling Rye, like I really want to post value. And if it gets 50 likes, it gets 50 likes. But if you're the one of the 50 that really like dives into it, you'll be like, damn, this really helped me. So I think more is better, but don't post 5 times a day if it's not the quality that you would want people to like see in the work that you do. The answer to your question is do the thing. You got to do the thing. You can't make up the content. It has to be you. And that's why when people come to us and they're like, I was literally on a call the other day. I got 20 units, 18 short-term rentals. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Go talk to this person. Go talk to Gideon about boutique hotels. Go talk to Avery Carl about getting short-term. Like I can help you get a couple. I have a few short-term rentals, but I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. So I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I'm going to be your best person to get you to the next level. So I know I kind of went off a little bit there, but to answer your question, it's more quality, organic content, being yourself, put your message out there, and you'd be shocked the deals and the people that find you that resonate with you. People resonate with us. Like, think about this. I'm 33, Rye's 34. We're kind of like, not bros, but like we just talk like we're ourselves. Like I don't put on a suit. I wear a hat. I'm not fancy. And people have said like, hey, I joined your program over Brandon Turner's because I just felt like I was going to be closer to you guys. Like I was going to get to hang out. And like he's at the 15,000 units and he's teaching people how to buy their first deal too. So you're going to find your niche is what I'm saying. You're going to find who you are, who you attract. Like if you're, a Latina woman, you'll probably end up working with more Latina women than me. Like it's just, they'll resonate with you. So find who you are, find who you like really who you want to go after. And those people will find you as long as you're truly being yourself.
Yeah. Your vibe attracts your tribe. That's why authenticity.
I should have just said that, shouldn't I? Like I kind of went around about that's exactly
No. Your level of granularity is fantastic. Yeah, it's like, and that's why being authentic is so critical, because even if somebody rejects you for being authentic, the person who is drawn to you for your authenticity is going to actually be drawn to you for you, not a facade that you have to put on.
Exactly.
With you helping people go from 0 to 1, do you find that the customer life cycle is shorter because once people get a few deals, they outgrow the program, or do you have multiple tiers that they grow into?
So right now we only have the 1 tier, but what ends up happening, Gideon, and this is very interesting, is that we build so much of a relationship that after 90 days, there's just a small membership fee and you can stay in the community for as long as you want. And what happens is that people start to get their first, second, third, and then they realize, cool, I either want to scale and go to a different community, or Ryan and I have deals that come up every now and then. We've created a substantial relationship with them and maybe they want to invest in a larger scale project and learn the game, maybe as a limited partner, about how to get into the bigger multifamily. So we have found that people have been staying because they're not only learning from us, but I did this intentionally. I brought in 5 to 10 people that I knew in my network that are just in our community as like quasi coaches, and they have anywhere between 5 units and 400 units. And they're the network that I plug people into. I have a great friend who's in Tampa, Florida, who's a wholesaler flipper. He's in our community constantly giving value because he may gain insight, knowledge, a client, whatever it might be from that. So I think that people are finding we'll help you start, but we can also get you to the next few stages. And then, yeah, you might outgrow us, but really our model right now is just help you get your first. I don't have an ascension in anything else like that. I think that's probably something that we would do, but more likely in order to bring the most value, I think we'll probably end up having that ascension be like an in-person thing, because I love the ability to get on Riverside or Zoom and chat with people. But I think people really want to build like deep rooted relationships. And those are the people that are willing to pay significantly more to get like more FaceTime and in-person stuff. So I don't know if that totally answered your question, but it's basically like we just have one thing we're going to try to do really, really well, and then see if it can grow from there as we get maybe people that are like, I want the next phase, and we'll develop the next phase as we go.
Yeah, that's powerful. That reminds me of Customato. He was a boxing coach. He coached a lot of the greats, Mike Tyson and some others that people have heard the names of. And he always had each one of his boxers work with someone who is better than them, work with someone who is equal to them, and work with someone who was less skilled and less developed than they were. And the idea there was that it accelerated learning. So you're working with someone who's better than you, you're working with a peer, and then you're also teaching somebody else. And it's that three-prong approach to self-development that actually accelerates you further. And so I can see the leverage of what you're talking about too, on an added level of once you are experienced and you have those deals and those reps, getting to teach those to other people and answering their questions, and it's questions that didn't cross your mind originally, ends up creating a much more well-rounded understanding. Like I've been leading coaching calls for a couple communities, one consistently, and then I'll do like guest spots on other communities. And I have found just as much learning from answering people's questions. And even if I knew the answer, but just adding structure to it in a way that meets their questions, I have found wildly beneficial, which is another reason why I'm likely going to kick off a community pretty soon here, which will involve bringing experts on, people who have, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate currently, but then also like coaching people and then learning from these people with hundreds of millions, and then creating that environment to accelerate not just my learning and the people's learnings, but not just the people's learning in the community, but my learning as well, to actually like accelerate myself with this community. So that's super cool. That makes a lot of sense what you're saying, where the lifetime value of the member actually isn't that impacted just because it is that 0 to 1.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the right or wrong way to do it, right? I just felt like I create a relationship with someone. If they want to stay connected with us, like I want to give them the opportunity to stay connected. And of course, the price has risen since we started. We have more demand, and the monthly subscription is higher than when we first started. But like everyone is seeming to like get so much value out of it. Then that is, that's what makes us tick. That's what makes us be like, okay, we really, really have something here. So I think I want to create genuine relationships with these people, not just be looking from afar. Like I think that that's where the growth really happens, is by pushing yourself and then hearing from me and Ryan and other people who have bought real estate. No, this is what you should do. Like this, I've seen this. Like just trust. You got to trust it, and to be like, well, these guys are at this stage and they're saying it. Like I really do trust it. And then by the way, Gideon, like if you have 3 properties and you come into this deal, I think most people don't realize how much value they have to give to somebody who has 1 or 0. They're like, you've answered the questions that they have too. And then all of a sudden it's a real collaboration. People that are a few steps ahead, they're in the community. They're able to give people that are at level 1. And then also we've had people start podcasts and like start posting on social, because I was like, this is what worked for us, dude. Like, this is the thing that took us from 8 to 80. And they're like, well, if it worked for you, you're dumber than me. That's what most people think. And they're right. It's like, okay, I can do this too. So there you go.
Dude, yeah, the leverage that posting content and building in public is what I always say. The leverage that yields is massive, and the returns come a lot earlier than most people think. Like in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to start seeing the fruit of my labor with posting on content, doing podcasts once I reach over 10,000 followers. And it happened immediately. Like I had 400 followers on Instagram at the time, and it was just my personal account. I hadn't posted on it in 2.5 years. And at like immediately after making posts, I had people from high school who I hadn't talked to in over 20 years who were reaching out saying, oh, dude, I'm in commercial real estate also. And we hit off those conversations. Other people that were like, that had been respecting the work that I've been doing off platforms reach out and say, oh, dude, once you find a deal, let me know and I'll invest it with you because I trust you. I had somebody, so I had started off with 400 followers. I think I was posting for maybe like 6 months before my first deal came along. I think over the 6 months, I grew to like 700, maybe 1,000 followers. And I hopped on a call with an investor for the deal that we closed on. And literally 2 minutes into the conversation, he said, oh, no, dude, I totally get what you're doing. I'm down to invest. And I was like in the process of explaining to him the deal. And he was like, I don't even care about the deal. I've been following your content. And it was somebody
Yes.
that I hadn't talked to in a decade. And they ended up investing 50 grand from a 5-minute conversation. And I thought that was the best return on my time ever made in my life because I've been telling everybody what I was doing and what I was building.
Yeah. And I think you actually taught me that on our last podcast, Build in Public, right? And I think it's, again, you have to be you have to be authentic, and you can't try to pretend like you're somebody you're not. That's the way that you get to be the stigma of online creators and the stigma of a coach or you're selling a course. It's like, if you're you and you're only selling you and you're only talking about the things that you truly know, and I tell people I don't know all the time, I think they appreciate that, but the thing is I have the network to back it, and I can go get the answers from somebody. And I think they're like, kind of people are buying into Ryan and I. Like, you guys we saw you talking to Tarek El Moussa and talking with, I don't know, just anybody like Devin Kennard and Rich Summers. Like, we're in the rooms with these people and we've built genuine relationships with them. I want to be a part of that. I want to build my reputation and my journey. And I hope that sparks the expansion of where people feel like they can get to. And that's honestly like the whole game.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Cory, we always wrap up with this question. What do people need to ask themselves or others to be successful in the space?
What do people need to ask themselves or others to be successful in the space? Oh man, that is a good question. I think it kind of comes down to asking yourself, like, what lengths are you willing to go? And how badly do you really want something that you say that you want? I put up a reel the other day of this quote that Ed Milet said, and it's really just something simple like keep your promises. I got it tattooed on my body. I love it so much because basically people said, like, you seem like you're so confident in yourself. And I'm like, well, I've only built the self-confidence by keeping the promises I make to myself in private and doing the things that I say I'm going to do. And if I say I'm going to go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, I do that. And I've built the confidence enough to know that I can trust myself. And if I trust myself, so much so that I'm just genuinely not concerned about the opinions of other people. I just don't. So to answer your question, do you trust yourself? And are you going to do the things you say you're going to do? And how deep are you willing to dig to be able to get it? I'm not trying to be like, David Goggins here. That's not my intention. But what I'm trying to say is we can give you all the tools, everything necessary, but you have to go do it. You can learn every single day, but you have to go, okay, Cory told me to do this. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to come back. I'm going to ask this question. He said to do this. Here's my roadblock. I'm going to go back and do this. Here's another roadblock. Like, are you willing to push through those roadblocks? And do you trust yourself? That's the biggest thing. If you trust yourself, then the self-confidence grows. You become a master at something and you just don't care what people think. It doesn't matter. I don't care. You can't affect me mentally. I already trust myself. So that would be what I'd say if you have to ask really more of yourself than other people.
Yeah. I love that. Cory, where can people find you?
The best place to find us is Instagram at Wealth Juice Official on Instagram. We have a podcast comes out every Wednesday and Saturday, the Wealth Juice podcast. But Instagram's the best place. If you're on there and you shoot us a message, I'm the person responding. So you'll talk to me. And yeah, that's the best place to get in touch. And I hope to hear from anybody listening. I love having conversations about this stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Cory, thanks so much for being on the show, man.
You got it, brother. This was awesome.